the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace in the time of King Nebuchadnezzar, the mighty ruler of Babylon. The Israelites were living in exile. Among them were 3 young men named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who had been brought to Babylon along with Daniel. These men were faithful to the God of Israel and served him with unwavering devotion, even while living in a foreign land that worshipped many false gods. One day, King Nebuchadnezzar ordered the construction of a massive golden statue, standing 90 feet high and 9 feet wide, to demonstrate his power and demand loyalty from his subjects. He issued a decree that whenever the people heard the sound of music from the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and other instruments, they must fall down and worship the golden image. Anyone who refused would be thrown into a blazing furnace. The sound of music filled the air, and people across the kingdom obeyed the king's command, bowing before the idol. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood tall, refusing to bow. Their allegiance was to the one true God, and they would not betray him by worshipping a false image. Word of their defiance quickly reached Nebuchadnezzar, and he was furious. The king summoned the 3 men and demanded to know why they had disobeyed his command. "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the image of gold I have set up?" he asked. "If you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand?" The 3 men answered boldly and without hesitation, "King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." Nebuchadnezzar's anger burned hotter than the furnace itself. He ordered that it be heated 7 times hotter than usual, and commanded some of his strongest soldiers to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the flames. The furnace was so hot that the heat killed the soldiers who carried out the king's orders. Yet the 3 men fell into the fire, bound and seemingly doomed. But something miraculous happened. Nebuchadnezzar leapt to his feet in amazement and asked his advisers, "Weren't there 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire?" They replied, "Certainly, your majesty." The king exclaimed, "Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." Nebuchadnezzar approached the opening of the blazing furnace and shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out! Come here!" When the 3 men stepped out of the fire, everyone could see that the flames had not harmed their bodies. Their hair was not singed, their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire on them. It was a stunning display of God's power and protection. Nebuchadnezzar was overwhelmed and declared, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants." They trusted in him and defied the king's command, and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Therefore I decree that the people of any nation or language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be cut into pieces, and their houses be turned into piles of rubble, for no other God can save in this way. The king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to high positions in Babylon, and their faithfulness to God became a testimony to the power and sovereignty of the Most High. This story reminds us of the importance of unwavering faith, even in the face of great trials. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's courage shows that true worship belongs only to God, and their deliverance demonstrates his ability to protect and save his people. It also teaches that faith does not depend on outcomes. Even when they faced death, these men trusted God, whether he chose to deliver them or not. Their story inspires believers to stand firm in their faith and trust in the power of God to work in every situation for his glory.